I'll never forget the sound of my own voice screaming as I watched my world crumble around me, the words, "You're just a pawn in my game," still echoing in my mind like a haunting melody. It's a memory that's etched into my brain forever, a constant reminder of the betrayal that changed my life forever. I'd always thought that my life was pretty routine, waking up every morning at 6 a.m. to get ready for work, grabbing a quick breakfast before heading out the door to catch my bus. I worked as an accountant in a small firm. It wasn't the most exciting job, but it paid the bills, and I was good at it. My colleagues were friendly, and we would often chat about our weekends or what we did the night before. I had a small circle of friends that I would meet up with on the weekends. We would go out for dinner or see a movie. My life was predictable, and I liked it that way. I had been dating my boyfriend, Alex, for a few years, and things were getting serious. We would talk about our future and what we wanted to achieve together. I thought I had it all: a good job, a loving relationship, and a great group of friends. But little did I know, it was all about to come crashing down. I had always thought that Alex was the love of my life. He was charming and handsome, and he had a way of making me feel like I was the only person in the world. He would surprise me with small gifts and take me on romantic getaways. I thought our relationship was perfect, but I guess I was wrong. One night, I came home from work early and decided to surprise Alex. I let myself into his apartment, and that's when I saw him, sitting on the couch with a woman I had never seen before. They were laughing and chatting like they were old friends, and then Alex turned to her and said, "You know, I've been playing her for years. She has no idea what's really going on." The woman smiled and replied, "You're a genius, Alex. She's just a pawn in your game." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My mind was racing, and I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there, frozen in shock, as Alex and the woman continued to talk about me like I was some kind of experiment. As I delved deeper into the world of corporate finance, I discovered a loophole that would change everything. It was a small clause, hidden deep within the company's bylaws, that gave me the opportunity to turn the tables on my former employer. The clause stated that any employee who had been wrongfully terminated could seek compensation through a special arbitration process. But what made this clause so unique was that it allowed the terminated employee to choose the arbitrator, as long as they were a neutral third party with expertise in the relevant field. I spent weeks researching and networking, trying to find the perfect arbitrator, someone who was not only an expert in corporate finance, but also had a reputation for being fair and impartial. Finally, I found him, a retired judge with a long history of presiding over high-profile cases. I reached out to him, explained my situation, and asked if he would be willing to serve as the arbitrator in my case. To my surprise, he agreed. With the arbitrator in place, I began to build my case. I spent countless hours gathering evidence, interviewing former colleagues, and reviewing company documents. I created a detailed timeline of events, highlighting the company's wrongdoing and my own innocence. I also made sure to document every conversation, every email, and every meeting related to my termination. I was determined to leave no stone unturned, to make sure that I had a solid foundation for my claim. As I worked on my case, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. I was finally taking control of my life, finally standing up for myself. I was no longer the victim, no longer the one being pushed around. I was the one pushing back, and it felt amazing. The day of the arbitration hearing finally arrived. I walked into the conference room, confident and prepared. My former employer was there, represented by a team of high-priced lawyers. They looked smug and self-assured, but I knew that I had the upper hand. The arbitrator took his place at the head of the table, and the hearing began. The company's lawyers presented their case first, trying to paint me as a disgruntled employee who had been let go for good reason. But I was ready for them. I presented my evidence, my timeline, and my witnesses. I showed the arbitrator the emails, the meetings, and the conversations that proved my innocence. I showed him the company's own documentation, which revealed a pattern of wrongdoing and deceit. The company's lawyers tried to poke holes in my case, but I was prepared for them. I had anticipated every question, every objection, and every argument. I had rehearsed my responses, honed my delivery, and perfected my tone. I was cool, calm, and collected, and I knew that I was winning. As the hearing came to a close, the arbitrator thanked both parties for their presentations. He announced that he would take some time to review the evidence and make a decision. I left the conference room feeling confident, feeling like I had finally gotten my day in court. The waiting game began. I waited for what felt like an eternity for the arbitrator's decision. I tried to occupy myself with work, with hobbies, with anything that would take my mind off the outcome, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my life was about to change forever. And then, one day, the decision arrived. The arbitrator had ruled in my favor, finding that I had been wrongfully terminated and awarding me a significant sum of money in compensation. I felt a mix of emotions: relief, vindication, and satisfaction. I had done it. I had stood up for myself, and I had won. But my revenge wasn't over yet. I had one final step to take, one final blow to strike. I would make sure that my former employer paid for what they had done to me, and I would make sure that they would never forget my name. The core of my revenge was about to be unleashed, and it would be a slow burn that would leave a lasting impact. Part 3. The Fallout. The dust had finally settled, and the consequences of my former boss's actions had caught up with him. The investigation into the company's financial records revealed a web of deceit and embezzlement that went all the way to the top. My former boss was fired, sued by the company, and even divorced by his wife, who had grown tired of his shady dealings. As for me, I was hailed as a hero for my bravery in speaking out against the corruption. I received a substantial settlement from the company for the harassment and retaliation I had faced, which I used to start my own business. I was finally able to pursue my passion and create a company culture that valued honesty, transparency, and respect. I'm thrilled to say that my new business has been a huge success. I've been able to create a team of talented and dedicated employees who share my values and are passionate about making a positive impact. We've received numerous awards and recognition for our innovative approach and commitment to social responsibility. But more importantly, I've been able to find a sense of purpose and fulfillment that I never thought possible. I've been able to use my experience to help others who have faced similar challenges, and I've become a vocal advocate for workplace reform and accountability. As I look back on the journey that brought me here, I'm filled with a sense of triumph and satisfaction. I'm proud of myself for standing up for what I believed in, even when it was hard. I'm proud of the person I've become and the impact I'm making. I'm living proof that you don't have to tolerate toxic behavior or abuse in the workplace. You have the power to create change and build a better future for yourself and those around you. TLDR. Contributions to corporate ethics. As I look back on this journey, I'm filled with a sense of satisfaction and triumph. I know that I made a difference, and that's all that matters. I hope that my story will inspire others to stand up for what's right, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. I'm now living my best life, free from the stress and anxiety of working under a corrupt leader. I've found a new sense of purpose, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. TLDR.